1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so my name's Dan from Your Guitar Academy, and I'm back with the wonderful guys over at Guitar Control to bring you this cool lesson. And today we're looking at major pentatonic, kind of country style lick, okay? So just to play that lick a little bit slower for you guys, it sounds like this, nice and clean. All right, so what we're doing here is we're exploring the idea of the major pentatonic. So a lot of people who kind of get into the kind of rock and blues and everything like that, they really start with the idea of minor pentatonic. Everything sounds like, you know, all this kind of minor sound, right? But we're going to be talking about the major pentatonic, what it is and how we can create this cool lick. So this is all in the key of E major, all right? So you notice at the beginning there, I'm playing a kind of a little jam of an E major chord, okay? It's just that kind of groove. Got kind of like a country vibe thing going on. So it's just over this E major. Now, if we're gonna find our E major pentatonic, there's a few things we can do, but the easiest way to start this is by using our first box shape, okay? So if we remind ourselves, you know, that pentatonic, that classic pentatonic box, if I was to do that in E minor, you know, I'd be right up here on that 12th fret and I'd be doing my classic pentatonic box 1, okay? Now, if I want to switch that box to major, all I've got to do is actually consider this part, this root note, with my little finger, okay? Now, you can go as deep into this as you like, and I would highly recommend eventually getting into cage chord system so that you can build this up across the neck so you can find these even easier. But as a starting point, all you need to do is do the same box, but now starting with your little finger, imagining that that's the second note of the box, okay? So the box would look like this. Okay? Now, of course, you're thinking, well, actually, I'd normally end like that, right? And that would end up making this like a C sharp minor pentatonic box 1. But actually, C sharp minor and E major, they're relative major and minor. And again, that's a conversation for another time, but essentially it's one and the same thing, but the crucial difference is that we need to start and end on the root note of E, which is under our little finger. So, just practice doing that. So simply taking the minor pentatonic as you know to play it, so in E minor, taking that root note, putting your little finger on there and playing now the major pentatonic, same box shape, just starting there. And if I put my little jam track on, okay, you can hear that it fits perfectly. Now, getting back to our lick, when I move that down, so that's box 1, I can go down to box 5, down to box 4, down to box 3. Okay? So all the pentatonic shapes join in exactly the same way. All we're doing is applying them to major rather than minor, okay? I hope that makes sense to you guys. That's basically how we're achieving this major sound, all right? If it's something that you really are unsure on, then do head on over to the website whereby, you know, we've got kind of courses on all of these elements. And remember, for this particular lick, you can click the link underneath in the description where you can download the tab and everything else for this. So, we're kind of using the E major box 3 as our core idea here, box 3 and a little bit of box 4. Okay, so that means that from this E major chord here, I move up to the 2nd fret and I've got box 3. And then next door to that, I've got box 4. Okay, just typical, the same way you'd always move your pentatonic boxes around. The only difference is that the root notes are in a different place, so that we're looking for that E as often as we can find it, okay? So let's get into this lick, shall we? Let's just start with that. So this is the kind of country feel, I would say, the major pentatonic, major blues, you might even say. And what I'm really trying to do here is use that box 3, but I'm also bringing in this minor third, which is kind of like that classic minor third to major third, that kind of classic bluesy thing. You know, we've heard it all before, right? And it's just that minor third to major third, okay? All right, so we got root note of E, then flat third to major third, hammer on. Then we're going to go through that major pentatonic. So 2nd fret to 4th fret and 2nd fret. The whole thing now I'm going to hammer on. Okay. And then I'm going to come back to the 4th fret, so still in that major box, that box 3 of the A string. Okay, like that. Okay, so that's the first part of my lick. Now, one little thing to notice, I'm hybrid picking, so I'm using my middle finger to hit that D string. Now, when I'm trying to get into the country thing a little bit, I tend to use hybrid picking because it sounds quite genuine, it sounds quite authentic. You just get that little snap, that twang sound, more than if you hit it with a plectrum. That's with the plectrum. That's with the slap. So you can do that, but you don't have to. Just bear that in mind. It's an option as you're doing this lick. Then I'm going to do this. Now, again, I'm using that minor third to major third idea, okay? So I'm going into this box 4 of the E major pentatonic, but I'm again using this minor third first. So think about where we did it here. We did... I just go up an octave. So I'm using that same idea again. So here I'm sliding from the 5th fret to the 6th fret. Okay. So just a little grace note slide. And again. So bam, bam, bam. So you can hear really the notes are just bam, 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 but I'm sliding into them, which has that extra feel, that style, which makes this sound so cool, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time slide backwards from that well, we'll call it a blues note, that flat third. So back to the seconds, and then we're going to hit the root note, right? So back, root note, then down to that 4th fret, and then finish on the root note. So the second half of the lick is... It's a little bit fiddly on the fingers, so you've got to decide which fingers you're going to use for that. I tend to use my 1st and 3rd fingers for the whole thing. Now, when you put the whole thing together, you get this. And again. Okay. And with the backing track. A little bit more gain to make it kind of stand out a bit. Maybe not quite as honky. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and slower. Now, whenever I learn a lick like this, the most important part, let me just turn that off. The most important part is that I know how to transpose it, how to move it, how to play around with it, okay? So what I might then do is I might then take that lick over this little jam and play around with it like this. So I've got the lick. Now, can I recognize the shapes? See, I'm really pushing it around here. Oh. Okay, so you can see, I'm not just playing the lick. Once I've got the lick, I'm then manipulating it, trying to make sure that around the lick, I know the scale shapes that I'm using and that I can then therefore use this anytime I like. Okay, that's a big process that, I've just done like 30 seconds there, but I'd be doing that for days and days and days with this lick. And then of course, I'd make sure that I can do it in any key. So if I came up to A, for example, and I changed my little jam track to A, so I went something like, okay, I need to be able to move it to everything in A. So I know that I've got my chord here. I remember that I've got box 3. Okay, so I've got my box 3, box 4. And I can move the lick. Okay, so I was able to move that. Oh! Great sound, great sound. Oh, let's just stop that. Try and stop it. Sometimes it just doesn't want to stop. So there we have it, guys. There's a really cool lick, major blues lick. There's a couple of things I want you to work on. One is make sure that you can play the lick, and remember you can get the tab via the download in the link below. Secondly, make sure that you can attribute it to the right major pentatonic shapes and that you're happy finding the major pentatonic and having a bit of a play around with that. I'll see you next time.